it was just an old farm building, like an old farm building. And it was just turned into a wee church like. The pastor was Pastor Smith. He was a hard-working man. He was a terrible man for the spade and the shovel. He could handle the spade and the shovel terrible well.
I'm Peter Smith, and my dad was pastor in Knockconny from 1956 through until 1975. And I used to keep a daily diary recording all sorts of events. So here's one dated 1960, which obviously was part of the time during which the church was being built. While I wasn't involved in the building work back all those years ago, I do have many fond memories of growing up in the church as a young boy.
A good crowd of people started to come then. Well, they had been asking questions. They had asked me a few times would I sell it up selling a field, you see. So I thought over it, and I said I would give them that wee field that they're in. The old one was just an old farmhouse. They turned it into a wee church, you know. But it never was the right job.
The earliest entry in relation to the church building is the 11th of May 1959, when Dad records, "New church started today, worked all day on site, a good day's work done," right through to whenever the building opened on the 30th of September 1961.
Oh, building for, building about, I suppose, about a little over a year just. There was a lot of men there.
Men like Bill Oliver, Jackie Burrows, Herbie Given, Joe Truman, David McDaniel, Herbie Simpson, to name but a few, men who gave themselves selflessly not only to the building project but to the life of Knockconny. Many of them weren't front men, but what a legacy they've left us. So the first entry was Monday the 11th through to Saturday the 16th of May. That was basically all day at the building site every day. Then Wednesday night took the prayer meeting and Bible class. Monday the 18th of May, all day working at building site. Some of these are quite funny because, as you know, another trait that I inherited from my dad is I'm practically useless. And Monday the 25th of May, Dad says, "We drew some gravel today." I'm not sure what his involvement in the drawing of the gravel was, but anyway, that's what he's recorded.
Mine'd been there for a whole week drawing with a tractor and link box. We drew the clay all out, and the road scattered out along that side of that field there.
And then right through until the end of 1959, basically 2 or 3 days a week, he and the other men were working away. 18th of January, study in the morning, and in the afternoon we went to take the roof timber off the lorry at the site. And the 17th of February, some of you will remember Oliver Gilmer, who lived just up the road in Millix from the old manse. I went up to Oliver Gilmer's with Bill Oliver and got the timber sawn for the roof.
Oh, there was one day they were just sitting in one of Robert's house to see I'm taking one of these things up the ladder, and they set the ladder up, but it was a new ladder, and they put the little on his shoulder, and I walked up the ladder to the scaffolding, and I went from the scaffolding up to the top of the window, and he set the little on the top of the window. And there was some of the men said he was a strong man, like he was a very strong man.
30th of May, Put in the entrance today, worked from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. And then for the month of August 1960, they were on site virtually every day whenever I read through the diaries. Now, the 15th of September, this was quite an amusing entry. Took my wife to the hospital early today. Baby was born at 7:10 p.m. Worked at the church today also. Now that baby, you may have guessed, was yours truly. Don't think my father was present for the birth. I stand to be corrected, but probably not. Then the 3rd of November, went to Tullyvannon to help wash out and put the cement in today. And then the last entry in the 1960 diary, would you believe, Christmas Eve, did some work at the site today. To the delight and applause of the assembled company, Mrs. T. Oliver, Sr., turned the key in the door and declared the building open for worship. Around this time, a few souls professed saving faith in the Lord Jesus Christ. Some of these are still in membership of Knockconny Church. The new building was a definite advantage to the ongoing work of the church, and attendances increased.
My granny opened the door. Right now what? Oh, now when you see the new build, there's a different situation altogether. It's a good job.
You can see from those accounts it was pretty full on, but I suppose still carrying on were the two services every Sunday, Knockconny in the morning and Tullyvannon in the evening. That's the old Knockconny. Midweek prayer meeting and Bible class, and also Dungannon Bible class seemed to feature every Tuesday night. A huge commitment for men who were men in their early 30s. We think of these as old men. I think of my father as an old man.
It looked well at all times. So it did, but there was a lot of work on it now. There was a lot of building work with the blocks and that, and there was, I would say there was 10 or 12 men working every day. It was a very big service, there was a harbour crowd there. The day it was opened, there was a harbour crowd there, for I was carrying, Jack Boris and me was carrying buckets of tea and stuff over around into the church.
The wooden floors and then the red tiles and that blue and black carpet that ran down the centre probably wouldn't have been proposed by an interior designer, I would suggest, but I can clearly remember that whenever I look at that. I remember the pews that whenever you sat down gave a bit of a crack. I remember the old pedal organ that sat up at the front that usually had a bunch of daffodils sitting on it. I also remember the white globes on the chains, which were the lights at the time. I very clearly remember the pulpit velvet covering with the gold tassels that hung over the lectern. I also remember clearly sitting as a young boy, going around all the texts in the windows and trying to memorize the verses. As I read those diaries, there are a few words that would best describe those men that were involved in that building project, and those words would be commitment, sacrifice, and selflessness.
Oh, God's faithfulness was with them all the time. You know, even the men walking and all those, there wasn't there was no accidents or anything like that. God is good.
Well, as we mark this 60th anniversary of the building here in Knockconny, we do so, and I think you'll agree with me, with great thankfulness in our hearts. Because as we look back, we see God's faithfulness, and we see His fingerprints all over the history of this church. We see great moments and seasons of where He's moved in the hearts and lives of the men and women who faithfully attended and served in this church. And even as they moved from that small building up in the old Knockconny and took that great leap of faith in the Lord to come here and build this church. And men and women putting their own efforts and gifts and talents to work. And men that we were unable even to interview for this video, like Jack Burrows and Willie Robert Best and others, of whom amongst many we're very thankful for, and of whom now we minister in the wake of their ministry. And yet we look forward. We look forward with great anticipation to what's next. As we mark this 60th anniversary, we also mark what we feel is a new season for us as a church, as we move into the work and the mission that God has called us to, as we think much about where He's calling us to go and who He's calling us to be. And so we are thankful to God for His faithfulness, and we're thankful that He will continue to be faithful, and He will continue, as He promised, to build His church.